Good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins, your housing discussion guru, bringing you trends in the housing market. Woo! Yeah, baby! Broadcasting from Merritt, British Columbia. The time right now is 7:04, and yes, I am 4 minutes behind schedule, guys, but I had to put together a really action-packed, really good show for you guys. We got Kevin Thompson in the house, arguably one of the most important guys here in this chat. And it's very important that we have Kevin Thompson here tonight. Everybody's starting to roll in. I am 4 minutes late, guys. I'm very sorry. Earlier, I met with the family to see Santa. My son and daughter went to go see Santa over at the school. So it's really there. So, someone here is from Queensland, Australia. Who else? Dominic. Oh, Dom in the house, baby. Okay, guys. The housing sector discussion has gotten so big that I actually have to break down each panel into a country. So each panel of one of these panels has like 30 articles per country. It's out of control. And stick around today's show and I'll tell you where all the foreign investors are headed to. All the foreign investors are heading somewhere. Where are they going? But they're going somewhere, and they're bringing their money fast. And I got several articles from several different news outlets to prove it. So we got 5 panels times 30 articles. So we're going to kick off here with Canada. So we're going to kick off Canada first, guys, and get Canada out of the way. I'll open the lines later for open lines so get people to call in. So let's start off with Canada. Greater Vancouver real estate prices go negative for the first time in 2013. Greater Vancouver real estate prices see first decline since 2013. The price is typical for a home across Vancouver is getting cheaper. Benchmark fell to 1.042 million. It's down 1.9%. Greater Vancouver composite benchmark price, there it is there, is starting to elephant down. Greater Vancouver composite benchmark price change, there it is in the negative right here. Cha-choon, cha-choon, cha-choon. And there it is back in 08. If you see over here, you can notice 08 right there. Greater Vancouver real estate number sales fall to a 10-year low. So here are the sales right here. And here's what's on the market. Wow. So this is sales versus listings. We've been following this every week for the last 100 years here on this channel. And Greater Vancouver real estate inventory rises over 40%. So inventory is still climbing. This article is about 20 minutes old. And new listings from homes down significantly. Greater Vancouver reported 3,461 new listings in November, down 29% from the month before. The decline works out to 29%, however, than the same month last year. Despite the decline, sales drops even faster with new listings pushing total inventory even higher. So there it is right there. Next. Canadian household debt growth has never fallen to this low outside of the recession. So household debt growth. Canadian real estate buyers aren't the only ones being tight with loans. Numbers show that household debt growth has fallen to the lowest level in more than 30 years. The decline in growth is so low that it's something Canada hasn't seen outside of a recession. Canadians owe over $2.15 trillion in household debt. Household debt. So here are your recession bars right here. And if you take a look over here, you see the we're headed. There's the total change right there. I think, guys, I don't want to be the bringer of bad news, but I think by Q1 we're going to be in negative percentages here. So Canadians owe over $1.5 trillion in mortgage debt. It's up 0.22% from the month before. Here's the Canadian household debt outstanding in dollars. Oh. There it is right there. Oof. Wow. And it's unheard, because look at the last couple of recessions. Things kind of, but look at it now. What a gap. Canadian customer debt rises over $624 billion. So Canada's in second place right now to Australia. Canadian household debt change. So that is consumer change, mortgage change, and recession. Again, very dangerous numbers here. Mortgage stress tests are being blamed for the declining growth. No. It's the capital outflows of China have been shut down. They've been shut off. It's closed. So stop with the blaming stress testing. Banks should have been testing people properly anyway to make sure they qualified for a mortgage. When I went for my mortgage, they declined me. They declined me with me putting down 50% and good credit. So because I own my own business, I'm business for self. Consumer credit also slowed down around the same time, about 6 months before stress tests. More likely are seeing households loaded with debt, not able to push growth much higher. In fact, they've loaded up on so much debt, they're now acting like we're in a recession. Canadian mortgage credit growth falls to one of the lowest levels in history. I covered this the other day. Canadians owe 1.35 million. There it is, trillion in mortgage debt. Canadian outstanding mortgage credit. There it is. We covered that in the last article. Toronto real estate sees fewer November sales in 6 years. So Toronto's in a huge decline right now. Toronto real estate prices rise nearly 3%. Greater Toronto benchmark change. So everyone says everything's starting to stabilize out east in Toronto, Ontario. People are saying, hey, yeah, it's stabilized. It's good. It's got another round to go down. Watch what's going to happen. Toronto real estate median sale price rises over 4%. There's the price change. So you had that huge dip at the beginning of 2017. Tail end of 2017 when everything started to, right here, pow. And it's kind of in resuscitation mode. So here are the most important graph. This is what I wanted to get to. Greater Toronto sales to new listings. So here are the new listings and here are your sales. So obviously new listings are not being as heavily listed as they were in June of this year. But also, actual sales have gone down too. So it's not a buyer's and it's not a seller's. It's a seller. I want to unload market. Get me out of this damn thing. Following a period of boom, it's kind of hard to get a good read on where the market is heading. Prices are higher than last year, but they continue to drop from peak. The trend of lower normal sales and higher than average inventory isn't a positive. Let's move on. Housing. Slowdown continues, says Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. I already played this article there. Taking a wait-see approach here.
The housing market in Metro Vancouver continues to slow down. The Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver says home sales in November were down 18% from October and down 42.5% from November a year ago. Joining us now to break down the numbers is Adil Donati, broker and owner, Royal LePage West Real Estate Services. Adil, thank you.
All right, we're going to skip that because real estate person working in real estate is always going to give numbers to better the cause, right? Metro Vancouver slowdown continues unbatted. Wow. 42.5% drop in the number of residential transactions from this time last month in 2017. That's from the Georgia Strait from today. Metro Vancouver home sales down 42.45%. Again, in November. Housing costs too high to attract talent. Tech talent. Vancouver has a great tech talent, but lower than average wages plus unaffordable housing means companies can attract them. That's true. Tech companies do not tech employees and stuff. They don't want to deal with long commutes. They don't want to deal with high level of housing. They don't want to deal. A lot of these guys, want to. They work long hours and stuff, so they don't want to deal with extra, and a lot of them take work home on top of that. So, yeah, good luck with that, Vancouver. Empty home tax not helping rental crisis, generating millions more for Vancouver, says report. So the vacancy home tax in Vancouver is bringing in money, though, but unfortunately, it's not pushing investment homeowners that leave their homes empty to rent out. So they're now renting out. So let's move on. Landlords the winners as Metro Vancouver housing sales slump. With a near free fall in Metro Vancouver, British Columbia, housing sales will plunge 23% this year, according to the BC Real Estate Association, and projected 2019 recovery will be led by centers outside of the Lower Mainland, particularly in the Kamloops region and in the north. So, BC will welcome 59,300 residents this year and another 61,000 in 2019, more than 90% of whom will move into the Lower Mainland. The majority of newcomers will be renters because Metro Vancouver has the least affordable homes in Canada based on the prices of incoming both Royal Bank and Zukasa Realty. Calgary ranks second to Canmore as most expensive housing market in Alberta. So right now, housing unaffordability is happening in Alberta. I did it here. I have an article, where to go, where a majority of foreign investors are on their way now to Alberta. They have their eye on Calgary and Edmonton as a cheap place to invest in right now. And it says, when it comes to housing affordability in Alberta, Canada is near at the bottom of the list. But Toronto-based Zukasa recently revealed the results of its study in housing prices and income in the province, and it found Calgary ranked only behind Canmore's most expensive real estate in Alberta. So, again, median household, real estate data form, 468,000. So, ranked number 17 in Canada. So, by comparison, Canmore was the most costly municipality by a long shot. The average home was $696,000. Yeah, so kind of wanted to throw that out there if you're living in Alberta. Stronger Calgary housing on the market in 2019 and 2020, says CMHC. Yep. On a national level, CMHC outlook for 2019 for new home starts to the edge downward to the range between 193,000 and 204,000, with new lower starts in both the single-family and multi-family segments. So units are expected to be 478,000 to 497,000. So that's still considered affordable in Alberta. Calgary housing market remained flat. This one's saying now Calgary housing market to remain flat over the next 2 years. So you got a tug of war. One's telling you things might go up and look good, and then this article is telling you things are going flat. So there'll be some slight uptick in Calgary's housing market over the next 2 years, but all things considered, the market will be relatively flat, according to the Canadian Housing Corporation latest housing market outlook. So they're seeing flatness in the market. It could be because of the job problem they have there, right? Majority of Montreal high-rise condo investors have negative cash flow. What is going on, Montreal? You got negative cash flow. I'll get to the comments in the section, in 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna.
Reports into downtown condos by the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation finds they aren't always as lucrative as an investment as people believe. Turns out most people who buy a condo to rent it out are spending more on mortgage payments, condo fees, and taxes than they collect in rent. And if you're a renter, that could impact you. Rob Lurie reports.
Another groundbreaking for what else? Another condo project. This will soon be Symphonia Pop on Nuns Island, a $100 million project for more than 200 units. And if you want one, hurry. It's already 65% sold. In case you haven't noticed, condos are everywhere in helping Montreal become the country's hottest housing market. Condo sales were up 22% this year over last, and 30% of buyers rent them out.
And what we found is that 75% of those condos had a negative cash flow.
The CMHC says most owners lose almost $400 a month, and this study comes at a time when tenants' rights advocates are worried about rising rents and a housing crisis. Right now, Montreal's vacancy rate is less than 2%. In other words, it's a seller's market.
On parle d'une hausse d'un passage de 785 à 850 $.
Eric Michaud says in 1 year, the average rent for a studio apartment downtown climbed from $785 to $850 a month. That's about an extra $800 in rent a year. Michaud says the problem started during the Tremblay administration, when the city abolished restrictions on large towers. He says that led housing speculators to drive up the price of land.
Donc, il y a eu un boom immobilier.
It created a boom, he says, but the problem is what gets built is rarely for families, and now there's a shortage of 3-bedroom rental units.
Le loyer moyen est de plus de 1500 $.
The average price for those is now $1,500 a month, he says, and that's way too much for a lot of people. And the worry is if condo owners aren't making enough money, rents will continue to rise. While Montreal rents are becoming expensive, they still remain a bargain compared to Toronto and Vancouver, where the average price to rent a 1-bedroom condo is now more than $2,000 a month. Rob Lurie, CTV News.
All right, that's that. Montreal out of control. Okay, why is this? Every time I try to go in this financial post now, it wants me to pay like $20. Most Montreal okay, get lost. Their negative cash flow. Montreal real estate house prices likely to climb through 2020. In Montreal, guys. For years, Vancouver and Toronto were the stars of the Canadian real estate market. Prices were skyrocketing and buyers were in a fever to outbid each other. Meanwhile, Montreal just kept trucking along, prices increasing modestly and unambiguously. Now it seems it's our time to shine. I don't know if it's Montreal's time to shine because this is going to just screw up their market, right? Unless people start getting more time to shine because you're going to start getting paid more because housing's going to start going up. You will be intact. So whenever housing goes up 8% and 12% in a year, you're going to look and talk to your boss and say, I need 12% increase right here. Make it 15, 20 because government takes a huge percentage anyway. So you got to you got to talk to the boss. You got to have a meeting. Say, look, boss, this is what happened in Vancouver. This is what happened in Toronto. If you want us to stay working for you, you got to attach our wages to housing prices. So when housing keeps going up for the next 2-3 years and it becomes unaffordable, I need you to pony up the increases in pay so that we can continue living happily ever after. Now it seems it's time to shine. Montreal's housing market started picking up towards the end of 2015 and now is beginning to gain momentum ever since. I like how they like to kind of throw people off. No, it picked up right after Toronto implemented the foreign buyers tax and the stress testing and all that crap. And once the foreign buyers tax kicked in and all that stuff, everybody moved north. It started in Vancouver, foreign buyers tax, everyone moved east, and some people moved to Seattle. Most of the people moved east to Toronto. Foreign buyers tax now moved north to Montreal. Wait till houses get severely out of control there, and there's street riots and stuff, and then they're gonna move to Alberta. I think it's gonna be like that. That's what I'm thinking. You know what I'm saying? Foreign buyers tax may become a reality in Montreal as Toronto's market beats Toronto and Vancouver. So they might be implementing a foreign buyers tax in Montreal. Do you really want to be like Toronto? That's the question on the minds of many Montrealers these days when they take a look at what's going on in their city's housing market. One that Canada Mortgage Housing Corp said is the summer close to overheating. So yeah, this summer that passed was an overheating summer. So, Montreal might put measures into place right now. This one here won't let me read it. How did Toronto housing get this bad? Oh, it's just a little blurb here. The average Toronto condo rents for $2,385 per month. Wow. It's disgusting. And Toronto is so slow to grasp the difference between controlling change and stifling it. Toronto may be, as dense as Toronto may be, it's nearly not dense enough. What? Compared to many big cities, Toronto is one of the least intensely populated urban centers. Oh, give me a break. What do they want to do? Put people on top of people now? Give me a break. Anyways, that's Canada, guys. Wow. I got a page for pretty much every country. We're going to kick off the U.S. in a bit. Let's jump over to the comments before we go to the United States and what's happening there in their housing crisis. Canada is really trying everything to its free market system, just like U.S. is okay, but in Canada, Canada's free market system is absolute disaster. It just let in a bunch of, just opened the door to everybody to come in and all right. Low Roller Scratcher says, Mike Martin, since you want to abolish government, I don't want to abolish government. I just don't want the government I don't want government intervention in everything. I want my government to go out and represent our country. I want my government to go out and make sure we have good trade deals with other countries. I want less government. That's all. Would you support the private sector to build schools, hire police, roads? You never have to pay any taxes. Would you support it? Well, no, yeah. Well, the thing is, I would support something like that more if the money went into a pool and it was properly allocated and distributed to those things, not to stupid, just crazy things, and our tax money going to bomb other countries or bringing in people into the country that are just going to ruin it. Things like that. Why would anyone support something like that, you know? So that's that, people. So let's move on to the United States of America. Anybody else in the comments want to say something? Everybody's in the... Yeah, less government for the win. Yeah, we don't need a government to tell us, you know, I would like a government to govern the food that comes into our country to protect us, but that's not even the case. They want to actually ban in Canada from the consumer knowing where their meat's coming from and where their food's coming from. They're actually going to ban that. They're going to ban you knowing where your meat's coming from. I don't want to buy meat from China. I don't want to buy meat from Thailand. You know? Heck, I don't even want to buy meat from Australia. I want to buy Canadian grade A beef. Oh, well, you don't need to know that. Well, yeah, so the government wants to get in and fix that. And the government wants to get into Uber here and make it, oh, you need this and you need an inspection, you need that, and you need a background check. You can't have this and you can't have... It's like, you know what? Someone's asking me, Someone's asking me when's a good time to buy a car. Buy one in the spring. Rainier Mulla saying, what's your view on universal basic income and Trump's cut on electric car subsidies? Well, universal income will never work. They tried it in Cuba for like 50 years, and universal income never works because there's always somebody that wants to do better than what they're getting. There's some people that are happy. Oh, I'm happy with this. I'll keep my mouth shut. But then there's people like myself. I'm like, I could do better than that. Anyone can do better than that. You know what I'm saying? Ozzy is saying too much government intervention. We end up with Chinese milk soon, as the government has sold our best farms to China. Yep. Lost Connect says electric cars will kill China. Mike, do you think they're dumping the ghost houses? Some of them are. Some people are. Yeah, some people are. Okay, guys, let's kick off the United States of America. Changes to Seattle single-family zoning could improve housing picture, city report says. This is too little too late. Price of housing in Seattle or in King County there have went out of control. So this is the home ownership rates in Seattle. So it's, listen to this, guys. 51% white, 44% Asian. Yep, the whole West Coast is, yeah. Wow. And then renters versus homeowners. So homeowners, 74,825 in 2005. Oh no, that's dollars. Okay, this is just the that's the pricing of okay, never mind. So majority of Seattle shielded from density. So a lot going on in Seattle, especially with them trying to rezone and fix this housing issue. Can we disclose laws to help prevail Seattle's housing market? Again, I covered this last week. This is basically now, because they tried to put a foreign buyer's tax in King County, and they tried doing it in the state of Washington, like the whole state itself. They wouldn't fly. They said it went against the Constitution. So what they did now was they now asking people where they're getting their money from, all their information, personal information. They just can't show up anymore with a briefcase full of money to buy a house. The infamous Northeast Portland Sugar Shack strip club to be demolished for housing. Oh no. The Sugar Shack strip club is closing now to put housing. And housing prices drop in Portland, national sales down. This is some good news, guys. The housing pricing is going down in Portland right now. The housing prices, in the state of Oregon was so out of control. They lost so much of their talent and so much of their good workers to other states like Nevada.
Well, now sales of new U.S. homes plunged in October.
So we wanted to know how the Portland metro area is now faring in this changing landscape. Our Jennifer Dowling talked to some local experts and joins us live to explain why this might come to a shock to some people. They kind of got used to this seller's market.
That they did. This market could come as a surprise to sellers who might be shocked by the prices. They might not get what they're asking for in the time frame that they think. But for buyers, it's a nice change of pace.
I would call this great news for buyers.
Broker Alyssa Eisenstein-Kruger has been watching prices drop along with the leaves this fall. She says this home was listed in September at $550,000. It just sold for only $515,000.
I think it's 40-some% of homes are having price reductions.
If you're listing a home today and you're basing it on spring sales, you're going to be in trouble.
In the Pearl, Tim Monicum says he sold a luxury condo in the Cosmopolitan this spring for well over $1 million. This fall, a similar unit on a different floor sold for much less.
Personally, I mean, I recently just sold a condominium where the exact same unit sold for 20% more in the spring. So someone selling this fall took a bit of a hit.
And nationally, the number of newly built unsold homes sitting on the market climbed to its highest level in 9 years. And during the past 12 months, sales of new homes dropped 12% nationally as higher mortgage rates caused some would-be buyers to back away.
Interest rates have risen enough where, you know, just a half a percentage more points in interest is a $200 or $300 a month jump in a monthly payment.
Alyssa says the sales of homes listed at over $500,000 in Portland have slowed the most, along with homes that need renovation or repairs. Time will tell if the pattern continues.
This is a normal market. We were kind of on this extreme high for a few years, and the trick is just to be patient.
I think it's been a seller's market for so long that the trend is definitely changing.
As far as the time of year, Tim says the best time is now, November and December, to buy a new home just based on the sales throughout the year.
No, don't buy nothing. Wait, it's going to keep going down even further. That's my opinion. And California housing crisis deepens post-wildfire and new old homeless populations clash. Oh, God. Deadly campfire fire fuels California raging housing shortage. So a lot of people camped out at the local Walmart there. Should California subsidize housing with rent stamps? That's a good question. Yeah, why not? This way the rent's paid for. They don't have to worry about California's three biggest problems: housing, housing, and housing. Again, they're still pulling that supply versus demand in parts of San Diego and Ventura County, and different areas there are still pulling the supply versus demand issue. And the housing market recession is coming. How the state can address California's housing crisis. This is in San Diego. It's so out of control. The balance between state and local control. California has no way. They have no. They don't even know where they're going. California doesn't even know if they're tricking or treating when it comes to how to fix their housing crisis. They're still hell bent on supply versus demand when they have like 107,000 empty units in LA County alone, owned by foreign investors. So when you got that much empty units, you don't have a supply versus demand issue. You have an oversupply issue. San Francisco rents close 2018 but rising again. Yeah, San Francisco is crazy. Okay, a 1-bedroom, okay guys? 1-bedroom San Francisco apartment. $3,560 a month US. Another apartment, 1-bedroom, $2,414. Single bedroom, another one here, $4,184. I don't know if you see the Paul Joseph Watson video of Portland and San Francisco. Oh, Las Vegas home prices set to rise nearly 8% in 2019. Las Vegas home prices will keep rising at one of the fastest rates in the country next year, and sales will only creep up according to new forecast. Guys, what's happening in Las Vegas? Again, they're going to be building another 6,900 houses when on the market, and 2,700 homes traded hands last month. Why? It's because everyone's leaving California, Oregon, and Washington State. Everyone's heading east towards Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah. Yeah, in Utah. Everyone's heading to those states right now. Florida trend, Florida sales inventory. It's apparently trending up. Trending up in Florida. But I know there's a lot of foreclosures in Florida, and they're doing a good job hiding that. Nothing here. Back to the bottom for Chicago. We'll take the weakest housing market among 100 U.S. metropolitan areas. According to the new forecast, it's the first time we've brought up the rear. There it is, Chicago. At the bottom of this housing crisis. So, affordability levels should be there in Chicago. And Texas, robust economic expansion could be slowing. Again, housing in Texas kind of shot up a little bit, and then now it's slowly starting to see a decline. And things are moving a little bit slow there in Texas right now. A slight decline in job growth and the cooling off of Texas housing market may be signs that the state's robust economic expansion could be starting to slow, according to a report. Although Texas economy is continuing to expand, the Fed's Texas Economic Update reports it finds showing signs of moderation. The Texas economy is continuing to grow at a robust pace. So Texas looks good too right now, but they're not too friendly to Californians down there. So, from what I heard, so all right, guys, let's go back to the comments for a little while. I got lots here still. We still got to go over to, what's this, the UK. Yeah, I guess we'll hit the UK after this. And then we'll go to Australia. Oh, yeah. All right, remember, I promised you guys I'm going to tell you guys where's the money going. All right. Let's go to the comments. Comments. Can anyone confirm this? Okay, hold on. Andrew Baker said, Kevin Thompson, 25% of unemployment does not measure the percent of people employed or unemployed, measures the number of people seeking work. Oh, that's correct. Andrew's right about that. That's how many people are seeking work. That's not the total people that are completely unemployed. Kevin Thompson says, can anyone confirm this? Stan Ulch is back, thank God. Jeff O'Toole saying, yeah, full recourse, meaning they'll come after you in your personal debts, which could be discharged in a personal bankruptcy. So Kevin Thompson's asking questions now. Can you walk away from mortgage debt in Canada of the Australia? Yeah. Yeah, people can save more. It's not because they don't want to save money, is they can't. It's because the cost of living is just too expensive, right? Okay, guys, let's kick off the UK. I promised you guys I'll tell you. Where are foreign investors running to? Foreign investors rush cash in on our housing crisis. Where is this? Ireland. This is tomorrow's date. Today. Tomorrow's news today on trends in the housing market. Thursday, December 6th, 2018. It's still Wednesday where I am. For a long time, actually. For another 4 hours, it's still Wednesday. So, yep, this is sprawling rents mean Dublin is now the third most attractive city in Europe for corporate landlords. The housing crisis and sprawling rents have helped make Dublin the third most attractive city in Europe for big property investors. Rents have soared as a result of the shortage of housing, making it more expensive for individuals to fund their accommodation. But that makes the city more attractive for big investment funds who can get bigger return as rent grows. With supply in the capital continuing to lag behind, analysts believe it's required investors look to set to do well for a number of years. These are people living in hotel rooms.
10 years ago, there was only a couple of hundred homeless people, and we kind of had them in a box and put labels on people that were homeless. That's increased, but also families. We never saw that before, so it's a whole new phenomenon. They don't know where they're going to be from one day to the next. So if they move around, we could call out and they'd be gone to another area. So what we ask them to do is to ring us when they move on to another place, and we try and pinpoint them.
I find it difficult and at times it can be a bit stressful. I don't know about you, but when I'm in a hotel after a week, I get cabin fever. And these are families with children living in hotel bedrooms. I find it in the 2018 that it's appalling.
Just because people are working and earning a living doesn't mean they have spare money at the end of the week, and Christmas can be really stressful. People don't ring Vincent de Paul just to pop up their Christmas money. Most people that ring Vincent de Paul are really desperate.
They want to make sure that their children do not lose out on what other children have.
They really hope they won't be in the same position next year, so we try to cheer them up and give them whatever we can, and hopefully what they're looking for to some degree.
Okay, guys, I kind of wanted to throw that out there. So, okay. There are housing shortage or lack of social affordable housing in every major city across Europe, she said. In any market where there is a shortage of supply, prices go up. International and institutional investors are looking at the residential type investments as somewhere where we could get reasonable return. So the foreign investors that are investing in these properties are smart because they know people need to live somewhere to survive. That's smart, because instead of consuming stuff in the factory and shipping it all the time, they're starting to realize that because people have to sleep somewhere, period. So that's almost, and then they start raising rents on people, and they start ruining people's lives, right? Across Europe, 7 out of 10 areas about which investors are more positive related to residential property. So, UK housing crisis hurt the young and the poor. This is an abandoned mansion. UK house building revolution, £65,000 for a prefab home goes into production. So $65,000 for a prefabricated home. That's beautiful, actually, for that. That's big. Wow, that's actually a good thing. The UK is entering the new era of prefab homes with the opening of the Yorkshire factory that will build fully fitted 3-bedroom homes with the price tag as low as £65,000. That's fantastic. They're going to build 3,500 homes per year. There you go. £65,000. That's like, what, 78,000 US? Like 94,000 Canadian? Good. 130,000 children will be homeless at Christmas time in the UK. Sad. Look at this abandoned house here. It's got plastic in the windows. And look, someone's sleeping right in the front door. And the house is probably 10 bedrooms and it's empty. 1 in every 103 children in the UK will be homeless this Christmas. A total of 131,000 children are now estimated to be homeless. Guys, that's huge. This housing crisis is destroying people's lives. 30,000 empty homes and nowhere to live inside Dublin's housing crisis. Yep, again, investors. Dublin's landlords would rather put their properties on Airbnb than rent to local families. There are echoes around the city of the world. There are echoes in these cities all around the world. So yeah, hey, let's rent out to this person and blah, blah, blah. So 10,000 people in Ireland are homeless. The number of families that have nowhere to live has increased more than 20% since 2017. In 1 year, it's 20%. Look at this. Ireland's housing market remains strong. Of course, it's up 7.21% year over year in Q3 of 2018. Of course. Fuel poverty gap widens between urban and rural Scotland. Again, more than 2/5 of Scots are living in rural areas are estimated to be suffering from fuel poverty compared to just living in small towns and cities. Wow. No jobs, no homes, no service. How inequality is crippling young people. This is in Scotland. Scottish Council plans 2,000 social rental homes in the next 5 years. Single men account for a third of Northern Ireland's homeless population. Wow, that's sad. And 10% growth in the number of new Northern Ireland homes. So Ireland's seeing all the growth right now. So Northern Ireland is seeing huge growth right now. Wow. Scary. Scary. All right, that's done. And last but not least, we have New Zealand and Australia. And I'll open up the phone lines. So I like to go 1 hour and read all the major headlines from every English-speaking country. And then open up the Skype lines for you guys, whoever want to call in today. And we need Kevin Thompson. It's very important that Kevin Thompson explains to us exactly what's going on, because he's a huge housing insider. All right. Perth's 4-year housing bust is nothing like what Sydney and Melbourne's property markets face.
In a state flush with natural resources, WA's economy
too much music in this.
And busts. It started with the 1890s gold rush, but that was just a blip.
This looks like it's good, but it's got music in it. Housing prices continue their downward trajectory in eastern seaboard. Property owners across Null Arbor are watching on with interest. Perth is more than 4 years into the housing downturn that is yet at the bottom of the median house prices peaked at $585,000 in November 2014, according to Landgate figures. Excuse me. Too bad there's music in that. Sydney house prices have the biggest monthly fall for 14 years, and Melbourne close behind. Peak 2 through fall in Sydney expected to be 15%, the biggest reduction since CoreLogic began logging numbers. House prices in Sydney have recorded their biggest monthly fall for 14 years and remain on course for one of the steepest drops ever. Prices in the city fell 1.3% in November, compounding hefty falls in preceding months, according to figures from data researcher CoreLogic. How Australia's property crash is on track to be the worst ever, with Sydney house prices set to plunge by as much as $200,000. Sydney's median house price plunged 9.2% in the year to November. So from the beginning of the year now to November, it's dropped 9.2%. CoreLogic said that it was on track to be the worst led up to the 1991 recession. Ryde in Sydney's north suffered the house price crash of 12.1% to be the worst. Melbourne was also in the doldrums, with the median house values down 7.6%. Sydney was home to 8 of Australia's 10 worst performing housing markets. So that's that right there. Let's see if this thing has music. Yes, it does. We already covered that. Negative gearing report finds housing less affordable now than the height of the boom. Of course. Stress testing, all the stuff that's happening, and all the West, what do you call it? The Royal Commission sinking their nails into these banks and auditing them and looking over their books. Trust me, it's not looking good for Australia right now. Believe me, it's not. Statterley warns 5,000 Melbourne housing lots to be resold, prices to fall 10%. FOMO, oh no. The massive power shift in Australia's largest housing markets. Conditions in the Sydney and Melbourne housing markets have changed significantly over the past 2 years. Vendors on average are now having to offer larger discounts in order to secure a sale in both cities. 83.3% of homes in Sydney and 76.3% in Melbourne are now selling for less than the original listing price. That's in the stark contrast to less than 2 years ago. So guys, this whole FOMO thing, a lot of people bought into it. Look at, wow. So now it's below list price, but wow. Wow, it's not going to look good. It's just not going to turn out to be good at all. Going to see this invert again. It's an extraordinary turnaround. Given the weak demand and glut of homes sitting on the market, CoreLogic says, but what happened to this whole supply and demand? If you don't own, if you're in Sydney, or if you're in Vancouver, and if you're in Toronto, if you don't buy now, you'll never own! You'll never own! And then now, these real estate agents are going now and saying, well, the same guy saying this now, the same guy says now, oh, yeah, let me tell you something now. If you bought in 2012, you'll be okay now. What happened to this? You don't buy now. You're never going to own. And blah, 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 blah. And then now they changed their tune. But if you bought in 2012, you should be sitting okay right now. But 6 months before, you're telling people that if they didn't buy, they'll never own. They'll be completely bought out of the market. So we got, so Andrew Baker wants to call in. We'll get Andrew Baker on the phone here on Skype. Hopefully he's got a good connection this time. Hopefully he's not on a train anywhere. And we could hear him perfectly. He's going to give us a little bit of market insight on what's happening. He's in Australia, so he's been listening to what's been happening in Australia and following, obviously, Australia. Because he's in Sydney, and let me find him here in the comments section. Where the hell did he go? Baker, where are you, buddy? If you want to call in, because I don't know why you're not on my Skype here. I just spoke to you the other day. Ah, there we go. So opening up Skype lines, guys. Hello? So we're going to be opening up the Skype lines here. And that's the loss cannot. Hold on. Mary, I'll call you back in a sec. I just, let me talk real quick here with Andrew. Andrew, how are you, my brother? Yeah, I could hear you now. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Okay, give us a breakdown. What is happening in the Sydney, Australia markets?
Well, Sydney's going down really quickly now. all the clearance rates have dropped. We're getting like 40% clearance rates, which, from a year ago it was like 60-65%. So there's another third that are not clearing basically, and the listing, there's a build up of stock now occurring. So I think it's the highest in like 8 or 9 years that we've got in terms of housing stock on the market, and the average days on the market is starting to go up. It's now about 3 months before places are selling.
Yeah, 3 months. Well, 3 months is creating a glut. It's creating a huge glut in the market because they're not moving as fast as they were, and more people throwing more supply. They're adding more supply onto the market, so there's an oversupply right now.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that the construction completions haven't peaked yet.
I know! I know! You're like 2020, 2021, 2022.
Another two to 3 years before construction completions peak. So the building starts peaked back in like 2016. And then there was another jump back in 2017, in like April. And then ever since then it's trended down. So it's usually about 5 to 7 years, because the construction, they're big projects that all of these places are being built on. Like, they're massive, massive projects. If you go down like a train line, for example, it's just apartments that are like 7, 10, 15 stories high.
It's a concrete jungle. Concrete jungle.
We got places like Mascot, Wye Creek, Ryde, Epping, Chatswood, and they just have like apartments as far as the eye can see, but they're all still going up now, and people can't sell. Or people, the biggest problem is people can't get a loan, rather than people can't buy necessarily. Like, there's an article that came out today in the AFR where they were saying people that use short-term debt contracts with things like Afterpay and ZipPay, which is it's like kind of like payday loans, but not exactly. It's just consumer finance.
Mm-hmm.
So those people that use those products are starting to be rejected for mortgages because the lender is seeing them as not creditworthy, even if they've got a large deposit.
I saw the article you sent me about that lady that was using Netflix and stuff like that, and she got declined for a mortgage.
Like, she had a 30% deposit for a place in Darlinghurst. Like, Darlinghurst is one of the most expensive markets in Sydney, and she had 30% cash ready to go, and they still rejected her. Like, that kind of gives you an indication as to how hard it is to get a loan at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. It's not.
I don't know why Skype is. I don't know. Are you there, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know why Skype is on my computer on. I don't even know how to do that. I don't even have it logged on, Andrew. I got Skype on my phone, but I don't even have it on my computer.
It's weird, huh?
Yeah. It must have uploaded.
You should be...
Huh?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah. So everyone, as Kevin was saying, everyone in Australia normally says, "Oh, the spring market is always when it takes off," but that's not the case. We're getting the lowest transaction volumes of the year at the moment. So,
well, what happened to the spring market is here in Sydney, and it's everything's gonna go on an uptick. It's so busy in Sydney, and Sydney's gonna be so good in the spring. Prices will rebound, and what happened? Nothing.
Well, there's a guy on Twitter. If your followers want to follow him, he's called Shane Oliver. So he's the head of. He's the lead economist of AMP, and he posts like a weekly update of where the clearance rates sit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really useful because you can kind of have a look back and see what they have been and what they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the big thing as well is that they'll say the clearance rate is like 40-41%, and then 20-25% of the auctions will go unreported, so you won't know whether it is actually 40% or whether it's like 35%. So they could be skewing the figures up. Like, if they're not reporting it, it's almost always the case that the things they don't report haven't sold.
Look.
And then the other thing that's really interesting is the concentration of how many places are declaring what they sold for as well, because there's no legal requirement in Australia for you to say what the price was that it sold at.
You know what's scary about that? I covered that a few weeks ago, but there should be some sort of a census on that, so people pulling land title records in the next in the future, or people, not only that, looking for even doing basic comparables on houses to see what a neighbor sold for, so you know if you're not getting ripped off. It's a zoo. It's a housing zoo market. Once it's a housing zoo market, you're into a lot of troubles, because then you don't know if you're tricking or treating.
Well, people are trying to hide loss-making sales. Like, it turns up, people eventually find out that they've sold at a loss, that they've sold lower than listing price. There's a very, very, very small pocket of the market where you can still sell, but it's off-market sales, and they'll have a reserve price, and they generally sell. But this is like, $50-60 million houses. It's not exactly run-of-the-mill houses that are doing that. You can't even with a $5 million house, you wouldn't be able to extend credit to someone like that. Like, people are just being rejected left, right, and center for loans. Like, my sister is pretty senior at one of the big four banks, and I actually had a conversation with her today about whether they see any risks on their book, and they still seem really sanguine about it. Like, they don't seem to understand how much risk they're sitting on. Like, I think they do it to an extent, but they could be one of the slower movers. And I'm not going to say which one it is, because, And the other thing that's really difficult to figure out is there's a thing called ADIs in Australia, which is an authorised deposit-taking institution, which is basically a bank or a credit lender or a building institution or whatever, but they have the government guarantee, or what's called the financial claim scheme. And they have a guarantee on deposits, which a lot of these other lenders, like your Pepper Money, your Liberty Financial, and all the private equity firms that have started coming into the market and trying to securitize all these mortgages. So that's started kicking off pretty recently. I think it was late 2016 that kind of started taking off.
Okay. But what, Andrew, one thing that's concerning me about Australia is they're not raising interest rates, and they refuse to raise interest rates. And I understand you can't, but would this cause a ripple effect would it start changing the currency value? Your currency might take a little bit of a hit. I mean, isn't it normal for interest rates to go up to adjust to a seasoned market?
Yeah, but it's a question of where you get your money from. So there's a difference between interest rates. There's a difference between interest rates that you get, so the effective rate on your mortgage, and the interest that the Reserve Bank is setting. So the benchmark rate. So there'll be a premium on it, which is like the coupon rate that the banks make you pay. When banks issue a mortgage, they'll issue it at or near the comparison rate, depending on how close you are to whatever metric they've set for that particular mortgage product that they're going to issue you. It's about a third to 40% of all of the mortgage, all of the credit that comes into Australia comes from US banks.
Right.
So every time the US yields go up, every time our bank bill swap rate rises, then there's added pressure on the banks to raise their rate. Right. So it doesn't matter what the Reserve Bank is setting the rate at, because such a large portion of our credit is coming from overseas. It's the same sort of thing with Spain and Ireland before the GFC. They were getting massive influxes of credit from France and Germany because there was an arbitrage opportunity to lend into a market with higher inflation and higher interest rates, but they still had the same currency. So there was this massive currency arbitrage that you could just do by lending into a different market. Like if they lent in Germany, they wouldn't get the same return as what they would get by lending a mortgage in Spain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so where do you see housing in Q1 of 2019?
I think Q1 will probably lose another 4 or 5% in Sydney. It's going down about 1.5% a month, but it's accelerating. The downside is accelerating. So, and there's another thing that's really interesting is the historical refinance activity. So if you go through the bank's historical refinances, they usually occur at the end of January because all of the credit spend occurs in December,
right?
Like the Christmas period and for New Year's,
Mm-hmm.
and we also have the Australia Day holiday, which is the 26th of January,
Mm-hmm.
and then by the end of January, people go back to work and people go back to school and things like that. So there has to be like a scrimping to make sure that they can go back to their day-to-day lives. So a lot of refinance activity occurs when people come back from their holidays at the end of January.
Okay, let me ask you another one. What do you think is, so what do you think, how do you think, or I know you've been following this, the Royal Commission is really, I guess, putting the nails to a lot of these bank managers and bank CEOs. It
hasn't surfaced.
What's that?
It hasn't really reached the surface. It hasn't really done that much.
Well, but some of the stuff they're bringing up and they're finding, like so far, it's just phenomenal. Charging people bank fees that have been dead for 20 years instead of contacting their next of kin to say, hey, your husband has this in an account. Does your family want it? I see you're falling behind on your mortgage. No, they're charging what? One guy was with $2,300 a year in bank fees, and he's been dead for so many years. Like, what the heck is going on? What do you see happening with the Royal Commission? Do you see them uncovering even more dirt?
Well, the Royal Commission's finished. All they've got left from the Royal Commission is the recommendations that come into. They're going to put them out in February next year. So they haven't really uncovered that much, like compared to what I know is going on.
Right.
So, like, they've done a little bit, but it's not the whole story. Like the stuff that they have uncovered is pretty damning, but I would say they probably looked at about 25 to 30% of the whole picture.
Okay, I see where you're going. I understand. I guess they don't want everyone to know everything, because if people knew everything, I think it'd be pretty big.
But if you look at the actual terms of reference of the Royal Commission,
Mm-hmm.
the main focus of it was occurrences that fell below community standards.
Right.
And the biggest issue of everything is the fact that all of the examples that the Royal Commission went through were bank submissions or industry submissions.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't from the regulator, and they weren't from there were very few customer complaints. It was primarily banks that submitted the information to the Royal Commission. So they were picking and choosing the things that they would admit to.
Okay.
Right? So that's why they haven't gone to the full extent of what the actual problems are. Like they skimmed over how HEM was being used, the household expenditure measure was being used to quantify the serviceability of loans. And the banks admitted that 3/4 of the loans they issued were based on this index benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, I think it's like 80% of the population spends above the index benchmark, but they were qualifying 3/4 of the loans. So it's like, for all intents and purposes, it's basically like not doing income verification when you give out the loan. And that's not like a quarter of the market like it was in the US. Like they say, oh, we're really well regulated in Australia. But if you're doing loan qualification, but you're not doing it in such a way that actually captures realistic information, you're not really doing income verification. Because if someone's income's like $100K a year, and you say their expenditure is $30K, but it's actually $70K, then their net income is $30K as opposed to being $70K. So you've just put their income up by 133%. So,
yeah, I know. I've read about that. Yeah, I've been reading about that. That's so much fraud. It's like, who do you blame? Do you blame the customer for lying? Do you blame the lender for not doing a background check? Do you blame...
I don't think it's mostly on the customer side. I think it's about 40% customers and 60% banks.
Right. Well, because in the end, it's the bank that's lending out the money, so it's their money. They got to protect their ground, right?
Well, there's 3 laws that the banks have to follow. There's a massive law called the National Consumer Credit Protection Act, which they're supposed to be following, but they don't. There's also RG 209, which was
that first one you mentioned. Well, the first one you mentioned, if they went by those guidelines right off the bat, they probably lose half their deals right there.
But the extent of it is like massive. Even beyond that, like if you start looking at loans that have been issued with less than a 20% deposit, you have a thing called lender's mortgage insurance, which you're supposed to pay.
Right. It's like It's like HSBC or H. Yeah, we have it here in Canada too.
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. But the problem is, because of the way that the terms and conditions have been written on the lender's mortgage insurance from places like QBE and Genworth, the banks have decided to start doing it with their own loans. So they don't go through external companies. They're self-insuring their mortgages through LMI. It's not called LMI on the loan application form anymore. It's called a risk fee. So you're not actually paying for insurance against your own loan. So the bank is taking on all the risk regardless of what your deposit size is. So they're definitely going to try and claw back some of the debt. So if there's places that start going under, most of the equity that's going into them that have got 5 and 10% deposits is come from home equity from their parents. And a lot of the people with deposits that size are generally first home buyers. So you're going to start seeing not just first home buyers start default, but it'll be the parents that lose their house as well.
Yeah, so it's the domino effect.
It's fine,
yeah.
But all of a sudden, 10-15% because of all the people that have put in home equity.
Yeah, I know. I see where you're coming with this. I read an article about that about a year ago, where parents were using their equity in their homes to buy their children homes. And then what about that article I read? It was about 8 months ago, where parents in Sydney were buying 7-year-olds houses and condos.
Yeah,
that's
the problem. It's speculative mania. Like if you're getting to the point where you think you have to buy 2 generations ahead, that it's not realistic. Like you're in mania at that point. Like there's obviously going to be recession cycles. Like if the child's 7, what happens by the time they get to 30? You think there's going to be another 27 years without a recession? Like we're already world record for the longest period of time without a recession.
Right.
And that's not a record you want, because as soon as you do have a recession, it's that much worse.
Right. Well, yeah, of course, because it's going to go through that natural cycle, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, one last. Let me ask one more thing. What was I going to ask? What was it? Oh my God, I totally blanked. I had it in the back of my mind. I wanted to ask you. So, you know what? I forgot what it was. It was about... we already covered the Royal Commission. We already covered...
Was it anything we were talking about earlier today, or...
No. I completely slipped my mind. If I remember during the show, I'll message you. I'll say it in the live, and you could... It was... Okay, we already talked about Q1 2019. We already talked about... Pretty much covered. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got it. Interest-only mortgages coming up to fruition next year. A good percentage of them, about 22% to 30%, are going to come up to fruition in this.
It's more than that. 40% of all loans issued by the end of 2014 were interest-only. And the interest-only period is 5 years. So by the end of next year, you're going to see 40% of the loans of that vintage that have to be refinanced. But if it comes to the state where less stamp duty or less the transaction costs of buying a property, they end up being break-even or in negative equity, not only will the banks not refinance them, they'll be in negative equity because they've lost a percentage off their house to the point where their deposit is lower. So the amount of money they have left in the house is lower than the deposit than they put in. Like, unless they're paying, because if they're paying interest only, the only equity they have in the house is the deposit plus whatever the price goes up.
Right, which it hasn't been.
Yeah, which it hasn't been. So if we start going back to 2014, 2015 prices by the end of next year, which I think we will be, because say it's 25% reduction by the end of next year, or 20 to 25% by the end of next year, a lot of these people are going to be in negative equity.
Well, for sure, but here's the problem: if they could be maybe okay if they didn't touch their line of credit, if they didn't touch their credit cards, if they don't have a car payment. So if they didn't like borrow against the house,
Got nothing left. The savings rate's negative at the moment. We don't have any savings to go against to do that.
Right.
We already have the second highest household debt to GDP in the world behind Switzerland, and we're the highest household debt to GDP country in the world. If you look at countries with a balance of payment deficit, so we don't have any money coming in, but we actually, in fact, we have money going out of the country, and we're also really high in debt. Like, there's no way to offset the household debt that we have. Like, we can't export things to make money to try and offset how much debt we have in the public in terms of the population, not the government.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, thank you, Andrew, so much for calling in and giving us a Sydney, Australia-wide update. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And, yeah, maybe we'll do a market watch maybe next week, sometime during the week. Let me know when you're free. We could do a market watch update and maybe going over the world markets and what's going on.
All right, that's good.
Thank you so much, my brother. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Will do.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that was my man Andrew in Sydney, Australia. Okay, Lost Canuck, I'm calling you, buddy.
Hello?
Who the hell is this?
It's the Lost Canuck, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good. Did you see me read through like 45 articles?
Yeah, you did an amazing job, buddy.
I had to cover every country by page, like each section. So we started with Canada, then the US, then the UK. I can't believe how many people are going to be homeless this year in the UK. 300,000 children.
It's crazy. That's crazy. That is just crazy. Anyway, Mike, I wanted to give you an update so everybody can hear what's going on up here.
Yep. Just let me hold on.
Yeah.
Guys, Mario's calling from Barrie, Ontario. Just for people that are tuning into the show, Barrie, Ontario. I'll put up his channel here so you guys can see what it looks like. No, because some people are tuning in for the first time, and so I gotta let them know where you are. Okay. So go ahead.
No problem, buddy.
Okay, go ahead now.
Okay, so what's happening is there's a builder by the name of Viva Homes. They're actually giving mortgages out for free for 1 year.
Yeah, I heard about that with some condo company. They're doing that too.
Yeah.
And they're paying your 1 year mortgage, right? Is that it? Or strata?
No, that's what they're doing right now, because what's happening is they're trying to keep everybody thinking that the market is at a steady pace.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's always on your comment sections, or even on my comment section on my channel. The houses selling. Yes, they are, people. Houses do sell, but depending on the house, number one, and number two, depending on the person that's selling it. So people got to understand one thing: if the foundation is done right for both sides of the party, they're going to sell it.
Right.
Now, I'll give you an example, Mike. If there's a house sold and this person bought in 2012, it's still making a profit, so he's going to sell it even if it goes down from 2016 to 30%, let's say, or 20%, he's still going to sell. The other people, on the other hand, that are selling, that are desperate, and there's a few of them, and me and Steve the plumber, he actually gave me that website, I told you before, House Sigma, and they're not even going to break even. And they just bought the house last year. So that's happening. But that's not on the news. That'll never be on the news until we see a dramatic change in spending. So what's happening is the banks are still giving out mortgage, even though these rules are in and implicated. But are they really Like, think outside. You know what bothers me, Mike, out of all this? When they say Canadian, are you still there?
I'm right here, buddy. I'm listening to everything you're saying.
Oh, okay, because you're so quiet.
No, I'm listening to you. Go.
Yeah, no. What bothers me is when they say the 6 big Canadian banks. I hate hearing that, Mike. Because personally, us, the Canadian people, don't own the banks. And neither does a Canadian-born person own the banks. So to me, or the government. So nobody owns these banks, and they're privatized for the last 25 to 30 years. Heavily privatized, meaning there's corruption, there's fraud, there's escalated documents that are not even founded in legal terms.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're lending out so much money, so much debt, that it's so out of control. And what I was saying before when I was trying to call you is we don't realize what is happening now. So now you have GMAC laying off. You got now Chrysler that just put on the news, and Ford that they're going to be downsizing their employment, I guess you can say, numbers, because they're diminishing cars. They're diminishing vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And people got to understand, this is not about electric cars. This is not about gas cars. This is about a strategy they built since 2008, when they had all this money funded to them to exercise their I guess you can say their planned goal. They're going to say, let's try it for 10 years, which they knew they were going to succeed. Because when you have an unstable company that's not looking at innovation or anything, they haven't done anything since they had that big money. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
And this electric car has been out since you could say, who knows, since the 50s. They had a solar car that went up to 200 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden we got this, but oil, it's going down. It's going down. I'm worried more about what's going to happen, because, Mike, you know me with this pension. You have 3,000 people, or whatever the numbers are, GM, leaving GM in Oshawa.
Right.
But nobody's put an article out how many are collecting a pension from the Uniform Union of all the retirees from the Oshawa plant.
That's a really good question. That's a very good question, because a lot of these people's livelihoods are connected to their lifetime dedication to these jobs.
Yeah, and I try to look it up, try and find how many members. There's nothing out there. It's like it's taken off the radar. So that means that union could fold. This will be the first time that you're going to hear on Mike's channel from me that Uniform Union might collapse. Because what's going to happen is the auto worker sectors in Ottawa are going to shut down, and now you have Chrysler that came out that they're going to be laying off in the Windsor plant. They haven't said anything about Brampton, but eventually it's going to come here. Even though Trudeau's already released them of their $1.6 billion loan that they'll write off, but they're still going through with the layoffs and downsizing their employment numbers. So that's a question that somebody should call in that works for GM, that's retired. That's how much they're going to get, because I don't understand how this is going to affect them, because people have to understand, if you are paying out 80 people of a pension, you actually got to have at least 30% of them, 30% of that number to be paying into a fund that's going to be exercising its livelihood, its oxygen. Because if you don't have that, it ain't going to work. It's going to collapse.
Well, it's crippling, because a lot of those people depend on that money, but also our economy depends on that pension money to help redistribute or retrickle the money through the economy, right? And
that's right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And my idea was, I was going to say it in the last channel, but I didn't catch on. You got Bombardier that's been living on a lifeline for the taxpayers, paying them every time, 3 times already.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't Bombardier go to GM in Oshawa, or the plant there, and start building electric cars? They have the engineers, they have the money. Let's do something different. Get out of airplanes, because it looks like you're not doing very good on the airplanes, and you're not doing good on buses and and trains because apparently you guys are losing your shirts.
Well, that's what happened with BMW. They made planes, and so did Mercedes. They made planes for many years. They couldn't keep up with the market. They couldn't. They had a really tough time after the war. So a lot of them switched to making cars.
That's right. And the other thing we talked about too, Mike, is yes, I do feel bad. I feel bad for the families, the kids. But GM got a gift. All those employees got a gift. They were told in a year in advance that they're letting go. So I'm tired of hearing all the advertising. I'm tired of hearing that because I know all my brothers and sisters out there that are listening to me, and they're in Barrie and Toronto that are in the construction industry. We don't get even a week if we're lucky. Never mind a day. A day's a blessing. A week is even God's gift.
So what do you? So I want to ask you something. What do you think of them passing their? It's in the woodwork, and I've heard this through the grapevine. Okay, so don't take what I say 100% concrete. Just pretend we're just gossiping. Okay, they're thinking about a travel ban for people that default on their loans in Canada now, and student loans and or mortgage loans or any major defaults. They're actually they might impose a travel ban so people won't flee the country.
Okay, so let's of course Canada's going to put something in there that has things you can break, but you need money to go to court.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I think it could be good in one way, and I'll explain to people out there that understands this. And I know, Mike, it might hit you, and I don't mean to take it personal to your level.
No, I'm just that's what they're saying. I'm just telling you. I don't care what. Like for me, I think it's more control for the government over us, and that I don't like. I don't like to be governed.
No, you're absolutely right. And we're going to go back a little bit so we can get our thinking caps on and everybody's going to be on the same page. It's the same thing with the cannabis. You want to make it legal, but the only reason why they're making it legal, it's not just about the money, Mike. Think about it. So they could poison it. They can actually get pharmaceutical companies to put something in there. So you need another drug to get a virus out of you or something. That's what I believe. I don't do cannabis, and I never will. But what I'm saying is for the people that smoke it, I'd rather see you guys smoke it from your own backyard than you go out and go buy it from, the government now is monitoring it. This same government that's monitoring our milk that's poisoned and antibiotics fully, the same government that tells us to get a flu shot, the same government that implements laws for you to get your children vaccinated, which you can fight in legal terms. But at the same time, you cannot implement a law that's going to discriminate you as a spiritual being. If I want to go to another country, Mike, you ain't going to stop me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go. I didn't break no law. I'm not a terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a racist. I want to go. Because what? I can't afford to go pay something. You're going to stop me from going over?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. That's what they're doing. They're thinking about like people skipping on student loan debt and going with their degree and working somewhere else, and people skipping on a pile of credit card debt and taking off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what this comes down to? He paid off the student loans and all that. Now they want to chase because now the numbers aren't matching. You got people that worked here in this country and they disappear and they're collecting. They don't disappear. They want to move somewhere else. So in other words, Mike, let me ask you the next question. If they impose that, that means they're not going to give you a pension check if you're not living in this country.
Well, they're thinking of cutting it back to like 2 months of the year you could be out of the country. So all those snowbirds that go to Florida could only go 2 months of the year or they'll lose their pension.
Yeah, you see what I mean? So that means, in other words, we're stuck here. So this is not a free country. I fight with people all the time when they say Canada's the best. I never said Canada's the worst, but don't say it's the best. Because right now we've lost our never mind our Indian native background. We lost our actual Canadian citizenship in freedom. we've lost it.
Mhm.
We lost it, Mike. You know, and you know, let me ask you the question, Mike. Who would you go vote next year as our prime minister? Do you like anybody that's up there?
None of the above.
Exactly. I said the same thing. Like, who are we supposed to go vote for? Even though we need to go vote, who are you supposed to go vote for?
I don't know. Unless,
You know,
unless there could be a huge movement where people would, on the ballot itself, they bring their own permanent marker on the bottom, say none of the above or something like that, and then if there's enough people doing it, I guess people, I don't know, they'll start realizing that, you know, it's the same thing. Like it's we brought this up in many shows before. It's yeah.
And then I see that Kevin Thompson's got something to say all the time, man. I love the guy.
Rainier Mola saying poison cannabis. I'm laughing so hard. Yes, synthetic marijuana has killed thousands of people in California. Thousands. Synthetic marijuana. I don't know if you watched the Mike in the Night show. It was pretty bad. How many people were dying?
I watched it.
Synthetic marijuana.
I watch your show, buddy. Even though I fall asleep sometimes because it's so late, but I watch it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, bud, I'm gonna let you go. Make sure you get us a story for Mike in the Night, okay?
Yes, I will, buddy. You have a good night, buddy. Thank you.
God bless you.
You too, brother. Ciao.
Ciao. All right, guys. Skype lines are on. Mike Martin's 1980, and yeah, it's a housing crisis everywhere. Every English-speaking country is suffering with the same open free market. Come in and buy. But that one in Ireland, that article I read for you guys in Ireland, that was disgusting. Foreign investors coming in, buying up the hot rental markets, and then charging what they want from people because there's a scarce of places to live in Ireland, especially with Ireland's shortage and 10,000 homeless right now in Ireland. That's disgusting. That, ooh, it's a great time for investors to come and buy and take advantage of these high rents. What the hell is that supposed to mean? People need somewhere to sleep. Let's take advantage of people's sleep. Let's take advantage of a place for people to live. Yeah. Disgusting. Ancient Tomatoes in the comments saying buy a tent and survival supplies. So Peter Swag is calling it fake news. Very fake news. You can't die from edibles. Guys, you could die from anything, okay? I could die from talking here. I could die from drinking water. I could die from anything, okay? Okay. Who else is going to call? Let me see who's available here on Skype. Who is here? Let's see what this guy's been up to. I hope he's not in jail right now.
What's going on?
Nada, you're live. Hey, give us a follow-up. So this is Mysterious Blue Entity, people. He is in Victoria, British Columbia, where the housing market...
I'm actually up north right now, so anyway, go ahead.
Oh, you left Victoria.
Yeah, I'm not there anymore. But anyway, what? Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to know what happened to that tent city.
I'm not sure if it's there or not. Like, I think there's housing being made, so people are being moved out slowly. But the deadline was November 30th, and it's still there. The thing's been there for. There's 300 to 400 people in the tent city, and they're still there. I've had a friend who was down there a few days ago, right, and says it's still there. I'm not sure. I mean, they should be out of there by tomorrow, but I don't think they're going to be gone. And the one thing about it is rampant drug abuse, like there's been people who have died in it. I think there's 4 or 6 people have died in there from drug overdoses. There's been. Are you still in the call?
I'm right here, dude. I'm right here.
Oh yeah. No, there's been people stealing cars and stuff and going there. Oh, guess what I found out, Mike Martin, the other day? There are over 48,000 unsolved cases or open reports in Nanaimo, and I heard that there was 8 to 13 unsolved murders this year on Vancouver Island. So, I mean, whoever's viewing this, I'm going to warn you guys now, don't go near Vancouver or Vancouver Island, because it's a very shady place. People there are very shady.
So there's lots of I guess open murder cases that are not being, I guess, solved. Kind of reminds me of the Highway of Tears with the thousands of women that died on that highway.
Oh, there's murderers right now walking around your communities. Some of them, stuff that's going on Vancouver Island, yeah, they occurred on Vancouver Island, but the people could have gone to other places too, right? You know what I mean? So they could be anywhere.
Wow.
And that's very, very scary. I'm just up in Fort St. John right now visiting family, so.
So are you moving there? Are you moving there?
I'm going to be coming back in next week, and going to be there until March, but I'm moving to Whitehorse in March, and I'm going to be staying up there for good, so.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you gotta keep us on the hook so we know what's going on up in Whitehorse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I got a place to stay in March, right? I just have a lot of family, so I'm seeing family and stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, go ahead, ask away. But I just want to say Vancouver Island, Nanaimo, and Victoria, very shady places. The politicians are corrupt there. The social services are corrupt there. Heavy drug use. Crazy, just out of control prices on the housing. It's gas prices, everything. The place is out of whack. That's the best way to describe it.
Okay. Well, that's it. That's just it. I wanted to touch base and see where you were at, and what you found out, and we'll probably have you on Mike in the Night if you want to weigh in on some of the stories we're talking about. Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna be back down here next week, so I'm gonna have an eye out. But yeah, it's still there. Like the situation going on in Vancouver and Vancouver Island, it's out of control. It's one of the most nastiest places I've ever lived in my life. I can't compare it to anywhere else. It's just downright nasty here. So.
Okay. Anyways, we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll have you on the show for Saturday if you get some time, okay?
Oh, hey, one more thing too is I sent you over some UFO footage. You should look at that. That's some really bizarre stuff I came across by accident. So. Yeah,
I'll take a look at it. I'll take a look at it later this evening, okay?
Yeah, I want no credit, man. I mean, just have a look. Go to the coordinates, look at the pictures. There's a background to the location as being some alleged base. It's crazy. So anyway, I appreciate it. Thanks for calling.
Hey, thank you so much for being there.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Okay, bye. So that's Mysterious Blue Entity. He's got his own channel, guys, on YouTube. He's been keeping an eye on the tent city there in Victoria. Several hundred people there. And also, what was the other one? He's been kind of following the forest fires and stuff, you know, and what's happening with forest fires. So he's a good guy to have around. Gives us a good insight. And yeah, I wanted to throw that out there. Let's see if anybody's available. If anybody's available here, Skype lines are open. So we had a caller in from Sydney, had a caller from Ontario, Barrie, Ontario, and we had a caller in from Victoria, British Columbia. And if there's anyone stateside, watching us stateside from the United States of America, don't be afraid to weigh in. And I'd like to know what you guys are up to down south there. hopefully they could have this whole, this, who else we got here? Man, there's a ton of people on right now, but I'm not sure who to call, who to bother. Who do I bother tonight? Who do I bother tonight? All right, guys, Skype lines, Mike Martin's 1980 if you want to call in. Steve said he'll call in 5 minutes. Mysterious Blue Space says he'll be on for sure during Mike in the Night. Yeah, we should get Kevin to win. Kevin to phone in. Kevin should be phoning in. We don't know what is going on with Kevin. So I hope he's okay. Who the hell is this?
John the mic, what's your beef?
Yo, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Just on my way home, pal. Just on my way home.
Okay, so any inside stories and any stories you want to give us? Any updates on this housing market? So Steve is calling from, I don't know why my Skype is going on my computer now. I don't have Skype on my computer, Steve, but for some reason it's on my computer and I can't disable it because it's not even in existence.
Weird.
Yeah. So, anyways, continue. What's going on, buddy? Give us a little bit of an update.
Had another foreclosure today. That was interesting. It was pretty good, actually.
Okay. Hold on. I got Peter in the comment section saying, Peter, I tried calling. Hold on, Peter. Let us finish with Steve. Steve's going to give us a good story here, okay? So, Peter, you can call in after. Okay, go ahead, Steve. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'll make it really short. I had another foreclosure that I had to attend to winterize the house and do what we need to do. But it's definitely accelerating. There's another one tomorrow, and there's 4 scheduled for next week. And the reason why it's accelerating is because it's not just the 3 banks that this guy basically does business for. He's now picked up some B lenders as well, and some private money in addition to his other book of business. And boy, oh boy, it's getting pretty juicy to the point where we're expecting, or he's expecting, the influx just to continue to rise well into the new year.
Wow. Okay. So more foreclosures ahead for the GTA?
It is in the GTA, yes, absolutely. And what I find interesting is someone, they're talking about, oddly enough, Kevin Thompson brought it up in the comment section before he ate some wheat cookies and then just gets all stupid. But in any event, he had said that a lot of people are gambling with second properties. And a lot of these foreclosures that are coming up next week are, in fact, second homes, second properties for people.
Okay. And
speculators.
So speculators are losing their shirts, is what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much, to the point where a lot of these houses are in actual fact vacant. No one's living there. Some of them were tenanted, but as soon as the tenants got wind that the documents coming to the door were not good, they said, okay, fine, we're leaving right away. In other words, the landlord was pocketing the money until the bank showed up.
Wow.
Like, this is it. After today, I am 150% convinced that Canada is entering a recession. 2019 will be the year.
I think we're in I think we've been in a recession for the last year. I think we're entering a depression.
You very well could be right, Mike. I'm not going to argue with you there. I'm not an economist. I don't pretend to be one, but I feel it.
Well, I pretend to be one.
Oh, okay.
I'm joking.
Yeah, it's going to be one wild ride, and I found it very interesting that Mario, the Lost Canuck, brought it up that Ford and Chrysler Is that confirmed that Chrysler is going to be laying off in their Windsor plant?
I don't know anything about anything about Chrysler, but I've heard something through the grapevine through Ford.
Ford. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that too, and those numbers were pretty big.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard Ford. Yeah, the big numbers for Ford. So, like I said, I heard it through the grapevine. It's just something that's floating around. So I just thought I'd throw it into your ear the other day and see what you thought. But nothing yet. Yeah, we're talking Q1, Q2 of 2019.
Sorry, Mike, you cut out there. What did you say?
Q1, Q2 of 2019. Ford. I'm saying Ford with Ford, maybe.
Okay, so that's when you think it's going to happen there, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. A lot of other businesses, smaller businesses, are choosing to lay off. Not until the new year, but I've heard today from more than one person that they're fully expecting to lose their job in the new year.
Okay, yeah. There's quite a few people actually that have that, especially now that unions aren't hiring anymore and they're putting everyone on salary. That's already a sign that you're not permanent.
Yeah, a lot of companies are larger companies as well are putting everybody on contract, so that they don't have to, they don't have to pay these dues or commit to these employees and whatnot, which limits their exposure and their liabilities from an employment standpoint.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't necessarily blame them either. The number one, risk for any business owner is employees, and the only risk that an employee has, other than as long as he or she does their job, the only risk they have is driving to and from the office, in my opinion. But that's all that I can really say, Mike. That's basically where it's at. But this will continue to escalate. I really don't like how the media is not supporting this. And
Well, the media is not supposed to help us. The media is only supposed to reinforce and make us think we're doing well when we're not.
Well, at this point, it's the media. The media is so biased, especially from a political agenda. But that's a topic for another day. It kills me that the media hears about this, or organized real estate has to know about this, because the banks know about this. It's affecting their bottom line. It's not affecting their bottom line right away because things are just starting to happen now. And yeah, they're posting these big, huge profits, but at the same point in time, it's not good, Mike. I just don't know when people are going to start to hear about this.
Yeah. Okay, Steve. Well, we'll have you on Mike in the Night if you got a story for us, and I'll let you do your thing. And
absolutely.
Have a good night, brother.
You too. Good to be with you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night. Guys, that was Stevie giving us a little update, and he's working on homes and getting them prepared for foreclosure. And he's on the front lines there, and he kind of understands what's going on. Obviously, he understands what's going on because he's in the front lines, and he's telling us what is actually happening. Okay, where are you from? So this is under if you go under community, under my channel. Where are you from? Let's see where my channel gets viewed the most. Canada is, the number one country that views me the most is Australia with 39%, followed by Canada, 32%, then the United States, 19%, and then New Zealand, 8%, and then the United Kingdom, 2%. And I kind of wanted to throw that out there. So, what do you guys think is going to drop in price in 2019? 9%, what do you think will go up in price in 2019? Up. 9% said housing, 71% said food, gasoline 13%, internet 3%, and travel 4%. This just in, Justin Trudeau still has no idea what he's doing. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out. Stuff on my channel, guys, to check out if you go to community. And, yeah, there's my channel there. Lots of stuff going on. Always a fun time with Mike. Trends in the housing market, guys. We're approaching an hour and 50 minutes live. And who else is out there? Who else is out there, guys? Come on. Kevin Thompson in Oakville, Ontario. If anybody wants to call in, give us a ring here. Skype lines are open. Mike Martin's 1980. Let me call Oh, mysterious blue entity. Mysterious blue entity, did you call us by accident?
Oh, hey, what's up? Sorry, I wasn't ready for your phone call, but if you have any questions, ask away, man. I'm willing to answer the questions as best as possible.
Well, no, I just, because it's the housing night tonight, and I just wanted to, cover what happened with that tent city.
Oh, yeah, no, the tent city stuff, I think it's being cleared up with,
Okay.
So the tent city stuff. I think it's being cleared up, so I think they're going to be out of there soon. Like, they've built a bunch of modular places, but the modular places aren't that great. They're like kind of like a camp style sort of thing. But there's also residents in the city suing the city for putting it there because of the possible rampant drug abuse and crime. Like, there's been just a lot of theft and stuff going on lately in the area, so I am going to be keeping an eye on it for sure. I do have contacts on Facebook who give me updates on it every week or two, so I might be staying up in Fort St. John for a while, but I do have a lot of contacts, so if I find out anything, I will keep you posted. But I do have someone who contacted me who's going to be going down there this Tuesday and checking it out, so I've been getting footage from people. So, but yeah, no. The other thing too about the housing prices in the market here is you can't find anything to buy, and if you do, it's just way too expensive. There's literally no housing, or if there is, it's too expensive.
Yeah, it's beyond what the average person. Yeah, beyond what the average person can afford. And once the average person can afford, they move away. Like you're moving to Whitehorse.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, you have it right, you know, like, another thing, too, is the population in Canada is going crazy, so there's this housing shortage everywhere. It's like, I drove through the whole entire province of BC, right, and you can kind of see the demographic change through every place you go through, whether it's restaurants you visit, like fast food. Like, I stopped at a Wendy's in Quesnel, and it looked like it was ran completely by temp foreign workers, and all these places that I drove through a couple days ago, they all look completely different, changed. Like Kamloops, I was there 2 years ago. I passed by again, and it's still the same place, but there's just all these new people who are just showing up out of nowhere. You don't know who they are, right? They're kind of strangers in a way.
Okay. Anyways.
But yeah, the demographics are just they're changing. Like, just even if you go through a drive through all these towns, they're not the same. They look completely different, like as like people wise and stuff. Like, you know that the people there are not from here.
Yeah, it happens. It's what's happening to Canada, and that's why I got my eye on the exit. So once the poop hits the fan, I was thinking of jumping ship myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, I'm thinking about jumping ship, but I've already have a few locations planned out. Like, even though I'm far up north, there's like just I grew up in Fort St. John, right? And even though I'm far up north, right, like, this town is not the same. That's how many people have moved in. Like, I don't recognize it.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna let you go, And
I appreciate it.
yeah,
No problem, man.
Yeah, we'll keep
if I find out anything, I will keep sending you messages. So.
Yeah, and if you find any other tent cities on your way, take some photos and footage, okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, bud. Bye. Okay, that's Mysterious Blue Entity calling us back again. Giving us an update on what is happening. So I'm not sure what is wrong with my... Oh, come on, Amazon reward waiting. There's no Amazon reward waiting. Stop lying to me. Amazon reward waiting. What a bunch of liars. I always get these stupid pop-ups here. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, there's pretty much nobody on nobody in availability. Everybody's out and about, and it is Wednesday night. It is hump night. Probably everyone's at the bars and pubs. But it goes back to what I was saying. A lot of these cities are turning into empty shells. Again, a lot of other cities debating about putting a vacant home tax. This is important because I keep bringing this up. Everyone's like, oh, vacant home tax, blah, blah, blah. Well, look what's happening in France. Vacant homes are a global epidemic, and Paris is fighting it with a 60% tax. 60% tax in Paris. Runaway real estate speculation has been filing global capitals with vacant homes, creating artificial shortages. In the world's most sought-after cities, the shortage has made local homeowners wealthy overnight. Oh, I'm wealthy on paper. Oh, look at my paper. I'm rich. But it comes at the cost of turning lively cities into empty shells. So there's a couple of cities right now that are looking at putting vacant home taxes on these empty cities. In English-speaking countries, that is. The city of Paris has decided it's had enough, implemented a tax in 2015. They did not quite get the results they wanted, so they're now tripling it to 60%. Okay. This Mysterious Blue Entity again, but I will to call him. It's not a big deal. I think he dialed me by accident there. Paris empty home problem. Paris has been trying to deal with vacant property owners for some time, despite warnings that the city will have to take action. There are now 107,000 vacant homes, representing 7.5% of all residential dwellings. Wow. 40,000 of these homes aren't on electrical grid. 107,000 empty homes in Paris. Holy crap. So, let's go back over this thing again. I went over this 2 weeks ago. We're going back over this again. So people that are watching and thinking, should we implement a vacant home tax? It works, believe me. City can make a lot of money off empty homes. So, London here, 59,000 empty units. New York, 308,000. Hong Kong, 42,000. Paris, 107,000. Singapore, 29,000. Sydney, 118,000 empty homes. Woo! 118,000. Toronto, 99,000. It's actually gone up more since then, by the way. Vancouver, 66. It's actually 74 now. San Francisco's 30. It's actually 39,000. And Los Angeles, 213,649. So look at them, empty homes just in these little cities, just in these cities alone. The amount of empty homes would add up to what? That's 360, 4, 5, 530, 630, 40, 50, 750, 6, 7, 8, 10, 8, 850, 1,013,000 empty homes between Los Angeles, San Francisco, Vancouver, Toronto, Sydney, Singapore, Paris, Hong Kong, New York City, and London. 1,013,000 empty homes. So should they be charging? Okay, Pete Swag's there. Let me see if I can get Pete on the phone here. I hope he's doing okay. You know what I'm saying? He tried call here. Let's see if he's okay. He's been in the comment section for a while, right? Pete,
hey, Mike.
Hey, Pete. How you doing, buddy?
Not bad. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, no, I saw you in the comments and you tried calling a few times. All right, what's on your mind, buddy?
Did you say Toronto has 99,000 vacant homes?
Yeah, it's actually more now. This is an old statistics. This 99,236 is actually 102,000 now.
Jesus, that's unbelievable. I just have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen to the key interest rate, Bank of Canada interest rate in 2019? Are they going to raise it? And how many times would they do it in 2019?
Maybe twice.
Because they just kept it the same, I think, yesterday, right, at 1.75.
Yeah, they're going to have to raise it another 2 more, 3 more times next year. It all depends on what the feds do in the United States.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if we kind of have to follow suit with the U.S. If they keep raising interest rates, right, their currency starts to get a bit stronger, their bond market looks more attractive, and exports look more attractive, right? So for us, we kind of need to follow suit and pony up. If we don't, we start losing to inflation and our dollar starts declining.
And then there's a chance of that actually happening.
Of course.
Because well, I'm from Hamilton, Ontario.
Oh, cool.
And it's really strange what's going on here. I was looking at a business today for $125,000 in this area that I live in, and I think there's 4,000 homes being built in my area, but yet this business is still on the market. No one wants to buy the damn thing. It's worth about $125,000. So it's really strange what's going on.
Yeah,
I don't know if
Hamilton, Ontario saw a huge influx of people from the GTA move there, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of people couldn't afford to buy. Now the prices there are skyrocketing, aren't they?
Well, that's the strange thing. If I go on to Realtor.com, it seems more homes seem to be going on the market every day, more and more.
Right. I'm not saying there aren't available for sale. It's just right now it's not a seller's or a buyer's market. It's get the hell out of the market.
Get out of the market. Yeah. I mean, everyone I know. I mean, all my friends. Everybody's broke. People are struggling. So it's just I know I rent for $800 a month. I'm in good shape. I got a job. I got no debt. I'm not worried at all. But I'm looking to buy maybe next year. But God knows what's going to happen with the interest rate. And I don't know.
You know what?
Strange. I find it funny that these businesses aren't selling.
Well, I'll be very frank with you. I would rather pay a higher interest rate, but on a more manageable balance.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So the prices are probably going to drop.
Yeah, because back in, if you go back to the 80s in Toronto or in Ontario, back in the 80s, when interest rates were at 14%, right?
There's no way that could happen again.
I'm saying, but the average house was still $52,000, right? So it was a manageable. Yeah.
So the interest rates will probably go up, prices will come down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
No,
if you have any questions, if you don't mind, I'm gonna email you. I got a lot to learn, and just trying to.
Yeah,
learn as I go here,
just go with the flow. You're sitting good right now. You got no debt. You're doing fine. So just go with the flow and kind of see what happens for now.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pete.
I'm gonna continue listening.
Thank you, bud. Bye.
Bye.
So that's Pete there from Hamilton, Ontario. Yeah, guys. So, I've been talking about... I found some videos from like 3 years ago. Me talking about this housing thing and how it's very abnormal. You know, my first channel, when it got shut down, I think in 2014, I started it during the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver because the market was supposed to crash, and it never did. And I still remember the average house in Vancouver in 2010 was $630,000. And I was freaking out about that because in 2010, I was freaking out because 640,000 for a house, that's phenomenal. That's so much. Now that same house is like $2 million. But you would have to buy it in 2010, but then think of all the fees and property taxes and headaches and repairs. It's just not worth it. Yeah, Steve loves to rent, says Kevin Thompson. So everyone's talking about Laundry Day here. Someone says, why do you dress like a pimp from the Scarface movie? No. So what happened was I was going to put this black shirt and then leave the collar in like this kind of thing. And kind of make it look kind of professional. And I was going to have it like this. One more button here. I was going to have it like a... But then I noticed I looked like a priest. So I just opened it a bit more like this. Because I was looking like a priest. So I said, no, I'm going to open my collar here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyways, so what else is on anybody's mind here? Trends in the housing market. I covered 1 million articles. It's so sad what's happening. So let's go over some of my videos here on my channel. We got farm bankruptcies on the rise. That's a big deal. Another one of my more popular ones here is Australia housing, do not buy. Canada bail-ins is getting a lot of views. I'm concerned about the whole Canadian bail-in thing. These laws that were passed. A lot of them were passed during the World War for war efforts. And Lord Humongous is saying, that's sweet 70s leisure suit Mike, Pimpin' Mikey. Yeah. Yeah. Bail-ins are coming, Anon saying. Anon, are you at work? Can we call you? Where are you? I hope he's not in jail. I gotta ask him what the hell's going on with these bail-ins. I hope he's probably working. See who's available here. Work weekdays? Oh, you're at work? Okay, fine. Whatever. We should just call, we should call Anon's work, like on the main line, and just say, hi, whatever, I don't know where he works, but can I help you? It's like, hi, my name is Mike Martins, and I'm calling live, and I need to speak to Anon. A good question, Lord Humongous, in the comments. Is Canada going to revolt against Trudeau like France? Oof. Andrea saying, Mike Martins, your mods are out of control banning people. Jedi says, just notice how he skips the questions he doesn't want to answer. Well, some stuff I'm not going to... There's people just saying no, or did Kevin get bullied out and stuff. I'm not going to read that. I mean, people that are... people that are watching could read what's going on for the small talk, right? But... people are saying they haven't banned anyone. Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah, what we need to do is we need to work. I want to get a hat, like a red hat made, that say, make Trudeau a drama teacher again. I think that would be a funny one. I've been talking about that for a while. Yeah, that's a good question. Has Canada ever revolted against anything? We should get Justin Trudeau on the show. What do you guys think? Maybe give him a floor on the show here to let him decide or discuss with us the small groups, and maybe give him a chance to defend himself. You know, because there's a lot of underlying things happening that we don't know. You know, we don't know. That's the thing. You know, I'm not defending anyone. There's just too much out there we don't know, and we're just on a need-to-know basis. Evan.
Mr. Mike.
How are you?
Oh, I am very good. I saw that you had a bit of dead air, so I decided to swoop in and save you.
So, guys, this is Evan calling from Hong Kong. Are you at home, or are you on a train or something, or?
I am at home relaxing, as you do.
Yes. Okay. Just making sure. Okay. So what is going on, buddy? Well, okay. Well, remember the 50 million empty homes in China that I read up? That video's got a lot of views on it. What is happening? I know you don't live in mainland China, but I mean, I heard about the amount of empty homes in Hong Kong too, and Hong Kong's not a big place.
Well, there's a lot of... Well, what they did in Hong Kong, they've taxed developers for withholding homes from the market to inflate the price in order to make more money, of course, and more to tax the little person than to tax the big people was their plan, and they've implemented that already, and they are going to actually build those ridiculous islands off the, artificial islands to fit more people in. But in China and Hong Kong, we've got all these agencies now who try to get us to property speculate in other countries. You should see the amount of seminars that go on every single day for properties in Cairns, in Australia, and Thailand especially now. That seems to be the latest trend because people are doing the investment properties in Thailand. There's more Australians than I have ever seen in one place, all in Phuket, Thailand, when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
You should have seen it. And there are agencies everywhere saying, would you like to buy an apartment? But of course in Thailand, like Mexico and other places, you can't own anything. You can only own it through a corporate entity. So they sign you up with a corporate entity and you buy the property. And as a result, the locals are getting very upset, Mike, because the prices of everything where they live are going up to where they can't afford them, and you're ending up with gentrification of areas around the world. Not so much in Hong Kong, but very much in places where the housing markets are still cheap, because they're trying to shift the bubble.
I got it.
You got it.
Somebody is messaging here saying why are people getting moderators being banning people for free speech? No one's getting banned from the channel, guys. You know what I'm saying?
The only thing that ever gets banned, as in a message, I mean, I won't ban anybody. I'll erase a message if it's far too vulgar or totally ad hominem. But apart from that, I won't do a lot because I'm happy to have people talk. Just use, nicer language. But I don't ban anybody. You'd have to ask the other mod about that, who's at work at the moment.
Yeah. Anyways, we should call everybody should get on the phone and call Buddy's work. Anyways.
I'm sure he'd love that, Mike. I'm sure he'd love that.
Anyways. Okay. So my question is, where do you see, like, this is getting so far out of control. I read an article earlier. I don't think you were on the show yet when I brought it up. How it's a news article from Dublin, Ireland, and they were saying how foreign investors are making their way to Ireland with cheaper homes at 130,000, 150,000 euros. A lot of foreign investors are coming in and taking advantage of the high rentals and blah blah blah. And why has it become where we're gonna start charging people through the nose for basic necessities like living in a house or in an apartment. That's disgusting. To be advertising your investment could do so much better in high rents and lower overheads, and just come to Ireland and ruin our people's lives. Like, what the hell?
Do you know the expression cutting off your nose to spite your face, Mike? You know that expression?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, isn't it? They don't want a win-win situation where you've got a productive society, everyone's making an amount of money. They want the maximum amount of money possible. And a lot of these investors have been glamorized by the media and by their little weasel agents who are in their ear telling them they've got to expand their property portfolio. Like I told you numerous times, many people had 10 houses and not a dollar on either one. You know, and what can that only do? It can only drive the impetus to buy more. And when you've got an impetus to buy more, people who are selling are going to go, hold on, if people are buying more, I could sell for higher. And then you've got this snowball effect, and a snowball effect of debt. Nobody wins in that situation, but people aren't exactly very smart when it comes to giving and taking. They think they can only take without giving anything. Never works out. But principles are principles, Mike, and they don't have any.
But it sucks. Oh, come on down here. Come on. The locals can't afford this house because they're underpaid, and there's over 10,000 Irish now that are homeless, and 3,000 of them are children. But hey, you know what? Why don't you come here and buy this place, rent evict the people that live there, do some renovations, and you could double your rent.
Well, here's the other thing, Mike, because it does also serve their agenda, doesn't it, by in having an influx of foreigners into your country, which is an invasion just by another name, which goes by, I'm sure someone in the comment section is saying, the Cludenhof Kolegi plan, which was, where was that? It was a Budapest meeting in the 1500s where they said we're going to destroy Christian nations by flooding them with essentially pagans, they said at the time, but third worlders who don't believe in anything, nihilistic atheists will be fighting the radicals, as it was written down hundreds of years beforehand, and they've got the means to do it, and that would make sense to me, otherwise it makes no sense at all. Because no one in their right mind would do it in their right mind. But these people have a totally different objective. So it's in their right mind to do what they're doing.
I understand that the dollar is the almighty. I guess that's what people are made to believe. You know what maybe occurred? I was thinking about this the other day. It's kind of bizarre. Do people actually think they take money with them to the other side when they die? It wouldn't be surprising if people actually believe that.
Isn't that why people build pyramids these days, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
No, I thought so. It's very Egyptian thinking. But they seem to think that way, don't they? They think if they've got a Ferrari, they'll get to heaven faster or something.
Yeah, it makes zero sense how people are blinded by money. Money is so blinding. It nulls all the senses. It's worse than getting gold fever, dude.
It's a similar mentality, though, the get-rich-quick scheme, isn't it? I mean, gold has some value to it, obviously. But a lot of these people, they're convinced that the image is more important than the reality. So they dress rich, they buy rich cars, and they're dirt poor spiritually, mentally, and physically by the end of it. Usually those people have a lot of money and are the sickest people out there. What a shocker.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, so, no, I'm just lost for words, man. I don't even know how to throw my words together because things are just so hectic and out of whack. It's so hard.
I'll give you something, Mike.
What is it? Tell me.
I'll give you something to make you feel better. This is a good thing to remember. There will come a day where men are called evil good and good evil. We are in that day today.
Evil good.
That is where we are at, Mike.
Okay.
It is very biblical. It makes perfect sense from a biblical perspective that these wicked people will continue in their wicked ways, and we will be at the times of Noah 2.0. But we are not quite there yet, but we're getting there faster and faster. Just imagine, Mike, even 5 years ago, would you have imagined today the way it is and the way it's going?
No,
Probably not.
no. Even like, okay, 20 years ago, I was a 20-year-old, okay? And I could never fathom our future to be like this.
I mean, the technology's better in some ways. Usually the technology they give you is always for nefarious ends. You look at computers, they're designed to spy on you. Phones designed to spy on you and limit what you can do, while giving you unlimited choice, but totally limiting what people do. You look at people who are always on their phone. End up with neck problems. They look down so often. Look at people who live in cubicles, in offices, tip-typing away. You look at their shoulders, look like a crescent moon,
It's scary, dude.
Well, it's deforming the physical based on the lack of spiritual, which makes the mental deficient. You've got to have all three kind of in harmony, and these people don't. They put one in front of the other. They put material wealth. Oh, the physical thing is all I need. And other people, they'll go, it's the pleasure. The mental thing is all I need. And then you've got the other people who say, I'm just going to meditate and feel good. And they're spiritually deficient, but they've got you covered every angle. When it comes to housing, it's all three, depending on what angle they're aiming to corrupt you with. And they do.
Wow. Okay.
It all ties together, Mike.
Yeah, I know. In the end, it all ties in together. Anyways, I'm getting tired. And a bit 2 hours and 20 minutes on the show. Total talking time here, guys. Yeah. So, Evan, thanks for calling and filling in the last space.
Oh, pleasure, Mike.
We'll have Mike in the Night on Saturday. We'll get you to debunk a bunch of articles. I got some pretty good ones for you this week. Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Evan.
Have a wonderful night, Mike.
Good night. So that's Evan, our truth analyst, on there from Hong Kong. And yeah, guys, it's winding down, guys. I'm getting tired. I read a lot of articles. Scroll back to the beginning of the show if you just tuned in. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for being part of the show. I want to thank everybody from all English-speaking worlds to weigh in on one topic, and that is housing. Guys, don't forget to join me this Saturday for Mike in the Night, 9 p.m. Western Seaboard time. This Saturday, Mike in the Night. Don't forget, guys, we're going to be covering some hot topics, non-housing related, and go over a few things. Anyways, I'm tired. Thank you, and have yourselves a great week, and we'll see each other on Saturday.